Deputy President.
I think, President, before you take over, I wanted Bathabile to give us an instrumental music, if that instrumental music is ready.
Okay, it will find us on the way. Let's start.
Okay.
Let me start by greeting you, Deputy President, our program director for the day. Greet our bishops, our apostles and priests, but also greet a bishop of the Methodist of Southern Africa, Bishop Purity Malinga. Why? Because she is the first woman to head the Methodist Church, and we must celebrate that as women.
Hallelujah.
Comrades, we've decided to join our hands today and mourn and cry and start charting our path to recovery. We decided to hold this service because when we had meetings throughout the country with all our branches, there was a suggestion that we must hold a service. And unfortunately, the person who was also a member of the Women's League was in hospital, and we did not know that she was lying on her hospital bed. So when we started organizing, and the SG found out that she passed on, but nevertheless, we decided to continue, but also focus our Mandela Day celebrations to prayers, because South Africa needs a prayer. What's also important is that we've been following the UN, and the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has always traversed without fear the road to gender equality. In the 63rd ordinary session of the CSW, he said, I quote,
Hi, my comrades, can you all mute
around the world,
please, can you mute? Please, comrades, can we all mute? Please come.
he said, around the world, there is a pushback on women's rights. That pushback is pervasive and relentless. We have a fight in our hands, and it is a fight.
President is muted now. President is muted.
We will not give ground. We will not stand back. We will push back the pushback, and we will keep pushing. And he said, put women and girls at the center of the efforts to recover from COVID-19. And we've seen that COVID-19 has reversed the limited progress we have made as women in the fight for gender equality and women's rights. Women's leadership and contributions must be at the heart of resilience and our recovery efforts. In South Africa, we all know that we have been exposed because we are consumers and we are very weak in manufacturing. And therefore, in our path to recovery, we must be at the center, both emotional and psychological, as well as economic recovery. We must ensure that we change the patterns of poverty we are faced with, and a country has increased the gap between the rich and the poor, and that must be fought. The infrastructure fund must be distributed to close the gap between the rich and the poor, and it must bring about effective and qualitative change. COVID-19 has made the multidimensional poverty that has always faced women worse. We have challenges in accessing food security, loans and credit, water, education, gender pay gap, poor health and social services, unpaid care work. And I'm not saying a government is not doing anything, but we are fighting against huge waves. We are fighting against a storm. And therefore, the little that is being done must be adhered to. And we are saying women must be part of decision-making, and decision-making must not be used as patronage to sideline women that are strong. And as the Women's League, when we had discussions, there are very key things that we raised. Women have raised the issue of cigarettes, they raised the issue of alcohol, but they were crying when we discussed the issue of kids going to school. And therefore, all the issues we are raising are mandates from our branches. We are not raising issues because we want to fight individuals, but also as women, we must act differently, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that will be trying to bring back all the pieces. And lastly, let's try and ensure that as we move forward, issues of gender-based violence are fought. And then that there must be action. And that the justice system must be organized in a way that will allow women to report cases as we are in COVID-19. And we must try and ensure that the pandemic does not shadow the challenges that are facing young women that are killed every day, women that are abused on a daily basis. We must get proper statistics. And as the Women's League, we've agreed to form command centers. And we are going to be driving these command centers through our Molo Makelwane program, but through WhatsApp groups, so as to ensure that we adhere to COVID-19 regulations. This is meant to ensure that all the cases of violence are recorded and they are referred properly. And we have to ensure that all cases are attended to. And that COVID centers must have areas that are going to deal with gender-based violence, that there must be integrated programs of government, and that COVID-19 mechanisms must also respond to gender-based violence. Media must report the cases fully, not only of COVID-19, and that we are going to train our leaders in engaging with men and boys, and we are going to have an inclusive campaign that involves a society, because gender-based violence and counseling services that are meant to ensure that our women are healed and communities healed properly. There must be use of accessible language. There must also be use of mobile services to report cases to National Prosecuting Authority, and that the private sector must also contribute to this. And more support must be given to NGOs that have stretched themselves, not NGOs that have been created to gobble money, but the NGOs that we always work with. And we are doing this for generational equality. Our campaign must be on the grassroots and not elitist campaigns. And as the Women's League, we call upon government and its partners to work on a study of behavioral attitudes in South Africa. I'm now going to ask all of us to light our candles in remembrance of those that have passed on, in remembrance of Utata Umadiba, and also light our candles to say, let's unite, walk this path together, because we are one nation, and all nations have found ways of recovery when there have been challenges. And we are going to light this candle throughout the service. And at the end of the service, we may leave our candles lighting, or we may switch or blow them, or use our hands to terminate. We must let me use my language. But comrades, today, let's work together. And as women, let's come together. No one must divide us. And this service is to try and say, let's come down and think carefully so that we don't make mistakes on our way, and let's be strong. This light is giving strength to all of us. Let's work together and fight COVID-19 as well as violence against women and children. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.